compliance with MARPOL requirements. And how that works, I'm very happy now to welcome Jochen Wüst here on the stage. And Jochen, what will you present us in the next 15 minutes?
Hello Hinrich. Today I will present our solution for emission compliance monitoring for maritime to create more transparency and reduce risks with using current technology.
Okay, that's great. So you're going to present us also some software, and I heard you have provided also an interview with our pilot customer, shipping company Klaus-Peter Offen, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so Jochen, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Hinrich. So there are 3 parts to this presentation. First, I will present basic information about our live emission compliance monitoring. Afterwards, we will have a look at a demo of our current solution, and in the end, I will present an interview with our co-creation partner Klaus-Peter Offen, Containerschiffreederei. So let's start. With today's challenges on environmental compliance, there are many and changing environmental regulations. Also, ships are moving inside emission control areas, outside of emission control areas, and there are local regulations too, for example, for harbors. The crews need to observe these regulations and the ship's position and the local limits. And in the end, the head office is responsible for the crew operation. What are now the consequences? Today, less transparency is available, especially ship to head office. It's difficult to keep track, and there's always the risk of non-compliance. Digitalization for some processes and data still needs to be improved. And in the end, it's difficult to extract the real information out of these data. With our compliance monitor, we wanted to reach 2 goals. First, we want to gain clarity on the compliance of each vessel individually. Secondly, we want to create transparency for the head office for the whole fleet. What do we have to do? Well, we have to push digitalization of the data sources, automate the collection, cleaning and processing of the data, and of course, create additional information by combining data from these different sources. As SICK has a large installed base of emission monitoring devices of the MASIC family, we naturally started there. Also, the availability of connectivity and internet is improving worldwide, so we choose to go for an online solution. We combined the ship's position, live emissions, and the limit at the position of the ship to create a new information, compliance. Of course, you can think of further functions like fleet performance management, scrubber optimization, and other functions which can be implemented later. So, how did we implement this functionality? We focused on fast and a customer-centric development of this new product. Our approach was to choose co-creation mode with an innovative and open customer, in this case, Klaus-Peter Offen, Containerschiffreederei. Some of the key expectations and goals we wanted to achieve are providing emission and scrubber data in real time and high frequency, create more transparency also for third parties, for example, your charterers or authorities, and in the end, that we can provide a ready-to-use product by the co-creation development process. The implementation of this application was done with state-of-the-art technology on the ship with SICK MASIC devices and SICK Edge device. And of the application itself, we use SIG Industrial Cloud Connector and other SIG cloud services, like you've seen before, and in general, a scalable cloud technology, and integration of third-party data like maps and routing information. The integration on the ship infrastructure was very simple. The first installation was done on a container ship from MSC, and the layout of this integration you can see below. It's very simple. The main component is the edge device, which is connected to the local ship network. We also integrated an MPR, a meeting point router, which enables remote access to the edge device during development, also connected to the ship local network. And of course, the ship local network itself provided internet access for our devices, access for other components on the ship, and protected the ship with a firewall in regards to cybersecurity from outside. This is now the basis for additional applications and functionalities we want to improve. And now, let's have a look at the demo. This is the demo for the SIG Maritime Compliance tool. At first, let's have a look at the captain's dashboard. The compliance status in the top left corner informs the user about the current compliance status very briefly. In the middle, the map gives an intuitive and easy-to-use overview of the ship's position and route, the location of emission control areas, and of course, basic information like, for example, sea marks. Info boxes for vessel identification and vessel information provide the most important static and travel data of the ship, used also for reporting and documentation. The Geo-Compliance widget displays if currently an emission control area applies to the ship and if, which area. So you are always informed about the current regulation you should be aware of. The notifications setting box states the currently configured events for approaching emission control areas and alarms and warnings for emission limits. These can be individualized for optimal usability. The current applicable emission limit and the live emission of the ship is given in the emission live data box. With this information, you can always check the distance of the ship's current emission to the actual limit very easy. In addition, there is a plotter available to view historical data. You can use this to analyze emission data from the past, either to identify possible issues or optimization potential. Now, let's switch to the Fleet Manager's dashboard, which provides transparency of your fleet's compliance at a glance. With some of these elements, you're already familiar from the captain's dashboard. Again, in the top left corner, the most important information about the compliance status of all ships of your fleet is given. You get immediately an overview if you must take any actions. The operation compliance chart provides statistics about vessels in port on a trip, including their compliance states. Now, I will show you different examples of the compliance status. The map allows us to have a closer look at each ship of our fleet. At first, we will have a look at the compliant ship outside of an emission control area. In this case, the MSC Bari in the South China Sea. As you can see, the ship is outside of an emission control area and running compliant according to the current threshold value. So there's nothing to do. Now let's take a look at another also compliant operating ship, but currently located in the North Sea emission control area. Please note the different emission threshold value. The next ship is still compliant, but the emission limit for the current area is nearly reached. Therefore, you get a warning to act, so you can avoid potential fines. Last, a non-compliant ship inside the North Sea emission control area. Here an alarm is triggered and immediate actions have to be taken.
And Jochen, we have many questions in the chat right now, and I could ask you until 3 p.m. today, but let's limit it a little bit to a few. One question is, can the system only integrate 6 sensors or also third-party sensors? And which interface protocol is the system working with?
Of course, we can also integrate third-party sensors. That's not a problem. Currently, we offer Modbus, and in the near future, we will also offer open OPC UA. And I think we are open for other protocols as we may need them.
Okay, so flexible. Second question, can you compare different ships with the software?
Of course, that's one of the goals. The fleet dashboard, as you have seen, that will also be improved in further iterations of the software, and we will define certain KPIs which you then can use to compare different ships in one fleet.
Okay, and then we have at least 2 questions of the same area, and that is the availability of the software and the data on sea. What is about here? Is it just a, let me say, working solution close to the land via GSM or via satellite, or how is that working?
No, we had to face the fact that the internet connection is not always reliable, and therefore we integrated, of course, a piece of software that is able to buffer the data if there's no connection available. But our experiences so far are that these time frames are very short.
Okay, and then one question related also in that case, what happened in case of connection failure with the data transmission? I mean, you just answered that.
Yeah, I just answered that one.
Right?
Yeah, we buffer the data and then we transfer the data if we have a live connection again. So
okay.
That's not a problem.
Right. But from the experience so far, at least I know, we have a quite stable connection.
Yes.
So it's not running every second, but let me say every minute or every couple of minutes, and that is, of course, sufficient for that task.